Hi guys, my name's Seb Tudor. I'm the man on the Silver Mountain, and welcome back. Now today I wanted to talk about the World Health Organization categorizing or adding gaming disorder to their 11th revision of the International Classification of Diseases. And this has had a lot of to and fro over it since they announced it. There have been lots of people going, yeah, that's fine. Lots of people going, no, that's ridiculous. Um, Lots of back and forth on it. And as someone who plays games and who has played games with you guys on the channel, they're one of my main kind of ways of relaxing. You know, I'll maybe watch the odd TV show or the odd movie every now and again, but for the most part, if I want to take some time out and just do something mindless, as it were, then gaming tends to be what I head towards. But also there seems to be a lot of misconception as to what it has actually been classified as within the ICD-11. And so I kind of wanted to get into that bit first so that we know what we're talking about here. So to read it off the World Health Organization's website here, gaming disorder is defined in the draft 11th revision of the International Classification of Diseases, ICD-11, as a pattern of gaming behavior, digital gaming or video gaming, categorized by impaired control over gaming, increasing priority given to gaming over other activities to the extent that gaming takes precedence over other interests and daily activities, and continuation or escalation of gaming despite the occurrence of negative consequences. For gaming disorder to be diagnosed, the behavior pattern must be of sufficient severity to result in significant impairment in personal, family, social, educational, occupational, or other important areas of functioning and would normally have been evident for at least 12 months. So there have been lots of people going, oh, it has to be 20 hours a week, it has to be this, it has to be that. And to lots of people, myself included, 20 hours a week does not seem a lot. You know, especially if you're playing through like a single player game and you have no other commitments and whatever else, where you just want the next part of the story. It's basically like sitting down and reading a book for several hours, you know, sitting down and binge watching a TV show. And so as a result, those hours can stack up. And so, yeah, 20 hours is more than the average gamer will spend on gaming per week. Most consumers, or there was a consumer study last year that found that most gamers spent about 6.5 hours to 7 hours a week, and that tended to be either all in one go or spread out an hour or so each evening. And for people who are working, people who have kids, you know, that all makes sense because they're not going to be able to just sit there and play for a long time. You know, that's a few matches of a game like Overwatch or Call of Duty. It's a next chapter or mission or two in a game. Potentially that's a raid or something in an MMO with your friends at the weekend. You know, it's something like that where you can attribute your time to that specific task. Now, beyond that, the thing that stands out to me in regards to the discussion around this is more that people are worried that others will start pointing at them and saying that they have gaming disorder, that they have this condition, this disease or whatever else. And also that people have started doing that towards kids just because kids are socializing through gaming rather than going outside and doing other things. Even if they otherwise remain healthy, they don't ignore eating or anything like that. And so I believe we've got two issues to talk about here. One is the attachment to kids, which we've already talked about before in a couple of different videos. But also we've now got this other idea of anyone who's a gamer who just enjoys gaming is potentially going to get slapped with this new label that could be quite negative. Now, let's go back to that definition. So it's going to impair your control over gaming. You're going to have a higher priority towards gaming than basically anything else in your life, interests, daily activities, etc. and it's going to cause significant impairment in personal, family, social, educational, occupational, and so on situations. Now, if you're someone that plays a lot of games, but you still eat well, you still go outside, you still go to your job, you still see friends, arguably you still interacting with friends and your relationships are maintained as a result of playing games, maybe, it becomes a case of going, right, then you are not likely to have gaming disorder because it's not impairing anything within your life. You're not getting stuck. Whilst the people that they're thinking of with this are more the kids in South Korea who will completely forget to eat, go to the toilet, and do whatever else, and so end up in critical condition as a result of starving themselves and dehydration and whatever else. Those are the people that this is aimed at, not just, oh, I like gaming a lot. That's fine. If you like gaming a lot, that's absolutely fine. Just don't let it take over your life. And the majority of people are well adjusted. So it's at the very end of this little blurb here on the World Health Organization website, there is actually a question that says, should all people who engage in gaming be concerned about developing gaming disorder? And it says the following. Studies suggest that gaming disorder only affects a small portion of people who engage in digital or video gaming activities. However, people who partake in gaming should be alert to the amount of time they spend on gaming activities, particularly when it is to the exclusion of other daily tasks, as well as to any changes in their physical or psychological health and social functioning that could be attributed to their pattern of gaming behaviour. So if, for instance, you find a game and play it non-stop and as a result lose all your friends and your job and everything else, then yes, that would be a thing to be worried about. If you have sat there and played a game for 15 hours straight without a single break, without getting food, without going to the toilet, without having a drink or whatever else, then that's probably another situation where you should probably be maybe a little bit concerned. You're not taking care of yourself whilst you're enjoying your hobby. If, though, it's just a case of like, well, yeah, this would be like me binge watching a TV show where I'm just, between every episode, I'll take the opportunity to maybe get up, have a drink, take a piss, whatever else, and then come back to it, or between every 2 episodes or whatever it is, however long the episodes are, I suppose, then chances are you're fine. And the vast majority of people are probably going to fall into that bracket where it's a thing that they enjoy doing, but it's not something that's going to stop you from, if you're thirsty, going and getting a drink. It might be that you wait till the end of a match so you don't let your team down, or whatever else. Or maybe you would have, if you're doing a raid that is going to take 5 hours or something like that, then you go and make sure that you get a drink and a snack beforehand so that it's just there sat waiting for you so that you can have a sip and have something to munch on whilst you're playing. But for the most part, it's not going to be something to concern most of us. We're all going to be able to quite happily say, yes, if I need the toilet, I'm not going to sit there and shit myself for the sake of a game. And that's where I feel like the distinction lies on the gamer, general gamer versus this condition. It's whether or not you can still function as a human being and just work normally while still enjoying games. If you can do that, then you're fine. And the majority of people are going to be in that camp. However, if you're in one of the situations where you can't do that, you're getting miserable, you're becoming isolated, you're ignoring schoolwork, you're forgetting to go in and do your job, so you're running out of money or whatever else, those are going to be the times and moments where you may very well need to go and seek help. And now you can, because of the way that this has now been classified and added into this classification of diseases manual, so that you can go to your doctor and inquire about it. It's obviously only just been brought in. There's still a lot of work being done around it in terms of research and things like that, so the extent to the help that you might be able to request is still kind of up in the air as far as I've seen. But it's something that you can look at, it's something that you can go for, it's something that you can inquire about, and that's all useful to you. Now, I want to get onto the this is harming the kiddies issue, because again, Fortnite, big phenomenon at the moment. Even though it started to tail off a little bit, it's still a case of, you know, it's there, and it's a cartoony looking game, so there are lots of people that are kind of letting their kids play it. And I've already talked about this in other videos, where it's a case of going, it might be cartoony, it might not be like super violent, but there is an age certificate on that game. It's a licensed product. Don't give it to some kid that's 6. Don't give it to a kid that's like 9. You know, it's, as far as I'm aware, it's a teen certificate, which is equivalent of like a 12 rating by kind of EU standards. So that's the limit for that kid. Don't, you wouldn't let that child watch a gory 18 certificate film filled with sex and blood and violence. So why on earth are you letting them watch or play a game that is above their age in terms of rating? Yeah. Now, obviously, you may very well know your kids better than the rating boards do. That's fine, but it's still a licensed product. And so when we've had on TV and in the papers and everywhere else all of these mothers and fathers complaining about how their kids are addicted to Fortnite and how it's terrible. And it's like, no, it's not. Most of these kids are below the age of 10. You have given a licensed product to a child that should not be able to get hold of it and would not be able to buy it themselves. And so the fault lies entirely on you. You are an irresponsible parent, and you should be punished for what you have done and what you are admitting to. Now, how, in regards to how this affects kids, yeah, they are going to get invested in it. Same way that you see kids who watch a certain cartoon then running around wanting to pretend to be that cartoon character. They're going to get invested in it because their imaginations are so ready to attach themselves to this kind of media. However, is this going to develop gaming addiction? Only if you're so irresponsible and so poor at communicating and handling the small individual that you have either brought into the world or that is in your care. Because let's put it this way, it's not too much to think that you should know what your kid has access to. There are parental locking programs that you can get hold of. There are other means by which you can curtail their the amount of time that they play for. Gaming can be an incredibly useful kind of developmental process and experience for kids, because they learn through games. We learn through games. We learn through play. And so as a result, it can be very useful. It can be great. We've seen videos from certain people online who have come across smaller kids, started playing with them, and those kids have seen the benefit of it because those kids have been shown to be lovely individuals, including in Fortnite. And yet, what it comes down to is, when you've got these horror stories of these children, that it doesn't matter how much those poor parents have tried, this game has ruined their child for them. No, the case that we talked about before, that was, I believe, a 9-year-old who had been given the game. I mean, the game is a 12 certificate. The parent has acquired the game and given it to the child. You know, when I was that age, I didn't have my own computer all to myself. I had to share it. And that's the thing to keep in mind here. Now, these days, parents are just going, oh, well, everyone needs a computer, here, have a computer. And they will let the child have that computer in their room. So anything that's free to play, anything that's accessible online that might just have a little kind of filter for you to fake your date of birth on. It all comes down to the fact that giving them those toys, those machines to play with, and not monitoring them is, again, a sign of being completely irresponsible. and as a result leads to your own downfall, leads to your own poor experience. And so now that the World Health Organization has labelled this, I've been seeing those same people causing the same fuss and yelling and screaming about how terrible it is and how it causes this disorder in children. We have seen how badly it goes when you start suggesting that children have a disorder that they don't have and then start medicating them for it or treating them for it. We've seen that in regards to things time and time again over the last couple of decades. Don't start doing it with this. Just be a better parent. So on the one side, most gamers completely fine with this. There are a very small number of people who are going to be affected by this in a way that causes them a problem, causes them to forget to go to work, forget to take care of themselves and eat and whatever else, forget to have friends. You're going to have that small group of people in gamers at large. But when it comes to kids, most of the fault here lies with their parents still. Just because the parents have started crying gaming disorder because it's a thing that they've now seen in the news that backs up their own worldview, that doesn't excuse them for being just irresponsible, providing their kids with stuff that they shouldn't be having, not monitoring their kids when they are playing these things and when they're doing their other activities, and generally just allowing the child the freedom to mess around with whatever's going on. The mother who was like, oh well, we've tried parental locks, we've tried taking away the router and disconnecting the Wi-Fi and all that kind of thing, and it just doesn't work. Well, if you've done all of those things, then it would work, and if it doesn't work, then it means you've not actually done what you're saying it's that you have, or you've done it. You are so ill-informed about the way that all of these things work that you think you've done it but haven't. In which case, educate yourself and be more responsible for the fact that you've got a small person relying on you, both for their development and their well-being. But anyway, guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, on gaming disorder. I've played with people who at one point or another had gaming disorder, including a doctor, as it happens, who completely quit gaming and actually moved to a very rural part of his country to avoid the temptation of being drawn back into it. And that was kind of tough in one way or another, because it meant that I didn't get to speak to him as often, because through gaming was the kind of way that I kept in touch with him kind of most readily. But again, it was better for him, and that was the way that it had to go. So there are pros and cons to every situation, but especially when he was kind of causing himself problems with his further training as a doctor, he was having issues at work because he wasn't able to focus, and so he had a whole slew of problems that followed up from just getting too into gaming so that it became too much of his focus. It's something to keep in mind and to work with. But anyway, I'm starting to ramble again, so I'm gonna leave it there. As I said, I'd love to hear your thoughts, guys, on either issue, be it the gaming disorder as a whole, or how this is now being used as another kind of poking stick to attack youngsters. But either way, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I will see you in the video later. Take care. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video or found it interesting, please drop us a like, share this video, and subscribe for more. And I'll see you in the video later. Take care.